Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm your host for today's episode. I'm a bilingual neurolinguistic programming and cognitive behavior psychotherapist specializing in anger management issues, both court-appointed and private, marriage and relationship coaching, dissociative disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, depression, anxiety, dream analysis, and also provide life, business, and retirement coaching support. I provide individual one-on-one sessions in both French or English, and also do group settings. If you need any assistance, reach out to DMV Therapy and Coaching Services at 301-325-1550, and our website can be found at lifecoachdanamzlag.com. Today, I'm very excited to have for our sixth episode of season 26, a very special guest, best-selling award-winning author, intuitive and forgiveness coach, Katharine Giovanni. And just like all of my previous episodes, I will leave it up to the guests to properly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job. Katharine, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
I am the author of 12 books, and I'm right in the middle of writing my 13th. And my latest book is called The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. And it's the first book in a series of 3. The second book's going to be about how to forgive yourself. Hello, drop the mic.
Okay, so thank you so much for being here. And I know a lot of people have a tremendous issue or challenge in forgiving. So first of all, what brought you to becoming a coach related to forgiveness? I mean, have you had yourself difficulty in forgiving people?
The fact that I call myself a forgiveness coach, and I might be one of the only people that does, implies that the universe has provided me with many opportunities to forgive.
Okay.
So I come from a pretty dysfunctional youth. My parents were very pickled, which means they were raging alcoholics. I was terribly bullied in school and tried to commit suicide in the 8th grade. So I turned into one of those teenagers, you know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just bounced through life, like a ping pong ball, until my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. And even my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. Yeah. So she dried out. We sent her to rehab, and we became as close as sisters, closer. And we practically finished each other's sentences, and we forgave each other, and we did everything together. And then she died of breast cancer 3 years later, which I actually got in 2012. And I knew that was a flashpoint for me. And I think everybody can look back in their life and they can see a flashpoint. It could be a teacher. It could be something that happened, but some event or a person that just radically changed your life. That was the one. So I knew if I didn't change, I was going to die. So I quit. It was the only New Year's resolution I ever kept was to quit drinking. And I've been sober now for 35 years, maybe something like that.
Congratulations.
And when you first go into the rooms, you're supposed to make amends. Okay, your girl here was terribly shy. I'm an extroverted introvert now, but back then, And if I could have texted, that would have been brilliant. But it hadn't been invented yet. I'm as old as dirt, and it hadn't been invented. So my choices were call and face somebody yelling at you, or go see them in person. I had no desire to do either one of those things, so I didn't drink, but I just paid it lip service, because everybody in the world, your pastor, your family, your teachers, tells you to forgive. Nobody teaches you how. Nobody. And then what if you don't want to? What if it's an unforgivable act? Then what do you do? So I just paid it lip service, and my life changed. And in 2020, I finally figured out what the special sauce to the whole thing was. And I've written a book about it. And I've created a step-by-step system that takes people, allows people to finally forgive and get out of the hell that they're all in.
Okay, so that's interesting that you just mentioned about if someone have done something that is unforgiving. I mean, is your book universal? Will it apply to every single situation or circumstances that you face?
Yes.
If someone had an affair or cheated on you,
yes,
that's possible to forgive.
Listen, on a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable, dumpster fire, 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, 10 out of 10 of you, including you possibly, my friend, are all thinking of your number 10 person, which is fair. They're the ones that rocked your world the most. They're the ones that absolutely crushed you. So your knee-jerk reaction is going to the worst pain. But my system is designed to start with the easy ones, and you work your way up to that worst pain.
Oh,
And right? And the thing about forgiveness, there's a few principles that I've stumbled across and a few things that people say that is just not right. The first thing is, just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. Forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean repair.
okay.
I got boundaries. I may not even want to talk to you. It may not even be appropriate. If it's a traumatic event, something that was truly unforgivable, and I think there are unforgivable acts out there, well, then now I really don't want anything to do with you, right? And just here's the big one that I'm sure you have tripped over with people all the time and your clients. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm giving you a pass. It doesn't mean that I'm saying you were right and I was wrong. It doesn't mean all of a sudden I'm coming over to the dark side. What it means is the formal definition of forgiveness for me is I want you out of my head.
Okay,
That's
but then we're just talking semantics here. We're just talking about words that you try to convince yourself that you forgave someone. But if you're still holding the grudge and not wanting to be able to deal with them, to be able to avoid interaction with that person, so is that true forgiveness?
Oh, I like you. I love your questions.
Thank you.
I love this.
Okay.
Love this. I discovered the special sauce. What you're talking about is the key to the whole system and its energy. Einstein clearly proved that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transforms from one thing into another. And when everybody gets angry, and you probably don't even think about it at all, but you think it leaves your mouth and dissipates into the universe somewhere, it does not. It hangs in your energy field until you clear it. Einstein and other scientists also proved that everything on our planet has energy around it, including this little microphone.
Mhm.
So what people have not, the reason people are still stuck, the reason these people are still living in their head is because you didn't clear the energy.
Okay. But then,
And energy is also the reason I tell people you don't have to forgive the unforgivable is because there's a lot of people, places, and things, and I did say places and things, hang with me, that you can forgive before you even get to that number 10 person. And we can talk about how to forgive the unforgivable. It is possible. I have a method of doing it. But I'm going to have you start with the first people, right? And I'll tell you the method. I love talking about it. I'm going to have everybody sit down with a pen and paper and write down everybody they think they need to forgive. And you're going to put those unforgivable people first. Everybody does. That's fine.
Mhm.
And I actually legitimately want you to use a pen and paper. And I know the young people are going to want to use their cell phone, but there's been thousands of studies done that prove that things stick more when you use a pen and paper. There was a study done at Harvard University years ago, and they followed some kids through the years. And the study has been replicated and many times. And they told half the students to just say their goals out loud to the room. And the other half of the students were told to write their goals down with a pen and paper. And they followed these kids for a few years. And the kids who wrote their goals down were twice as successful as the kids who didn't. So there's magic that happens when it comes from your brain all the way down to the paper. And I want you to be alone in the room, which means people, you might want to turn your cell phone off. There's an off button on the side that you can all utilize. I mean, and if you're visibly twitching at the thought of turning the phone off, which you need to reboot anyways, once in a while, there's another magic button. It's called mute. And I don't want you to have it vibrating because if the darn thing dances on your desk, what are you going to do? You're going to whip your head around and you're going to immediately want to know why your phone is dancing. So mute it. I want all human beings, including the little ones, not around you. I want you alone. You can have the dog or the cat, but that's it. And then I want you to I want you to look at the list you wrote, and I want you to rate them from 1 to 10. 10 being horrific, 1 being easy, like the person who cut you off on I-95 South. Come on, you forgive them. The person who stole your sandwich the other day out of the lunchroom at work. You can forgive that person. It was the end of the month. They were hungry. Come on. The person who stole your parking spot at the grocery store. Maybe they have a broken hip and needed the spot. Who knows? You can forgive these people. And I want you to take somebody really, really easy, maybe some kid in grammar school. Doesn't matter to me. And I want you to imagine that the person's standing right in front of you, not the adult. the kid you used to know back in grammar school. I want you to be talking to that kid. And if you can't imagine the person in your mind's eye, talk to a chair. Put their picture on the chair. Put their name in the chair. I actually don't care. You don't have to reach out to these people. Forgiveness is selfish. You do it for you. You don't do it for them. So with that being said, you can forgive dead people because where they are or are not doesn't matter a lick. They're alive and well in your head. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't gotten close with this person, okay, let them have it. You're alone talking to a chair. Say anything you want. Cry, dance. I don't care. It's your party. Mm-hmm. And then when you're ready, I want you to put your hand in your heart because at the end of the day, the words are just for us. It's the energy behind the words where the magic happens. And I want you to say, I completely forgive Dan. Completely forgive the energy around Dan. I completely forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I forgive the energy around the entire situation. And so it is. Amen. Then check into your body. You still mad? Was your number 1 now a 0? Great. Cross them off the list. Did your number 3 person go down to a 2? Great. Put the new number down. Wait 24 hours. Do it again. Here's a fun one. This one you'll really love. Was it a number 3 person and you did this, said my little mantra and now they're a number 9? Ooh, what happened? Well, as many people know, the brain is the most wonderful tool and it protects you. And there's a closet in the back of your mind that's been padlocked for years. And there's a movie playing back there that you don't know is there, but it's tripping you up and it's triggering you. And your brain just said, ooh, Dan's ready for the closet. I'm going to open up that closet. I'm going to flood this man with all the memories he has forgotten. And you're going to sit there and you're going to think about these memories and you're going to start to get irritated. So instead of crossing the name off, you cross out the number 3, you put a 9, wait 24 hours. Let's go. Mm-hmm. Time to do it. It's a really, really, really easy method that you can use for people. And you could also use for memories. You can use for traumatic events. It's a very clean method, and we can talk about how to forgive the unforgivable. That's fun.
Yeah, well, that's definitely going to be the next question. But do you think, based on your research, Katharine, that unfortunately technology has numbed our ability to be able to forgive because we just block someone? We don't need to confront them. We don't need to be able to address. That's right. So do you think that this will completely change the way that people actually forgive from within and not from without?
I do, because forgiveness is like an onion and it's got many, many layers. And forgiveness, the law of forgiveness is exactly like the law of gravity. The law of gravity is going to work whether you believe it or not. It doesn't care. It's still going to work. You could call the law of gravity anything you like. It still doesn't care. It's still going to work. So just by saying that mantra on somebody easy, you might not even feel anything. Most people feel lighter. Their shoulders feel lighter. 9 out of 10 people, when they're dealing with a level 5 person or above, get really tired, which is why I want you to do this before you go to bed. They get really tired after they do this practice because your body is trying to clear out all that old energy. Mm-hmm. But it's if you don't feel anything, I love it when people come to me and say, "Didn't work, Katharine." Yeah, it did. What happened is you just cleared the first layer, which means you're probably in the next few days going to think up other things that you need to forgive. And if you're listening to this broadcast and you're really sitting there saying, I have nobody to forgive, this is stupid. Okay, I'll play. Say the following statement every day for a week. I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive and the energy around this thought. Say that 3 times a night for the next 5 days. And I promise you, that closet in the back of your head is going to open. And you're going to think of the Super Bowl and your team lost. Okay, write their name down. You can forgive these people. They're probably level what? 3? But don't tell me they're a 9. Write down other things.
But Katharine, the thing is that if you're already awakening something that has been forgotten, then you're just bringing back, you're luring in all the negative energy, but in the back of their mind, they already forgot it. So there's no need to forgive anymore. So, but if you repeat this, you're reopening the can of worm, and then you are bringing things worse into the situation.
You can't clear something unless you know it exists.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to break something to fix it. I didn't want to go back into my past to remember all those horrible memories. I really didn't. because there were some really bad ones back there. I mean, I didn't try to commit suicide for nothing. I mean, there was some bad things that happened back there. Really didn't want to do that. But what I'm asking you to do is go back there a couple more times to clear it completely. So I actually have done my own exercises. I have gone back to my past. I have picked apart the memories. I'm going to talk about how to pick apart the memories in a second. And I have forgiven everything back there. I even forgave 1974, the whole year, all at once. I completely forgive 1974 and the energy around 1974. It was a horrible year. It's the year I tried to commit suicide. So I forgave it. And now when I look back at my past, I could see the love that was there. I could see the adults that were trying to help that kid. I could see the pockets of happiness and joy that were there. I could probably regurgitate, I'm using the word purposely, I could probably regurgitate those memories at you if you wanted me to, but pretty much they're gone now. I legitimately don't remember them. I remember the love that was there. I remember the good people that were there. So when I say I'm going to have you go back there, what I want you to do is it's going to remove the triggers from your brain. So when you see, I'll use my own life as an example. My ex, I've had a lot of business partners over the years, but one in particular really pissed me off. And she was kind of my number. I don't think I ever labeled her a 10, but she sure was like an 8. I mean, she was up there. And I did the forgiveness routine, and you don't get a number 10 down to a 1 overnight. It'll go take a minute. This is a marathon, not a sprint. It's also called shadow work, and shadow work sucks because you have to remember these things.
Yes.
And as I took the memories and broke them apart, and as I forgave each thing, I got her all the way down, and I forgave her. And how did I know I forgave her? Well, one day, a couple of years back, I stumbled across her name. It was her birthday, and I actually saw her picture and her name on Facebook. Usually, that would send me to the ceiling, and you'd have to peel me off it for about 3-4 days.
Wow, okay.
I didn't care. And I caught myself. And I remember thinking, wait a minute, I'm not mad. I even wished her a happy birthday. I really didn't care. It was freedom. It was liberating. I didn't care. I didn't care good. I didn't care back. It was neutrality. The emotional charge was gone. That's what I promise you. Everybody touts this thing, oh, you can forgive and forget. Okay, I'm from New York City. We don't forget anything. No. I'm just saying. We just don't. So that's not going to happen. That's off the table right now. But what I can promise you is neutrality. The emotional charge to the event will be gone. So you can think about other things besides this horrible thing that happened to you.
Do you think that in your research, Katharine, do you think that some mental illnesses or mental health conditions such as anxiety stems from a lack of forgiveness?
Yes, I do.
But
I really do. And I think some of the anxiety, I think it stems from a lot of things. If I go too deep into it, it'll stretch people's brains a little too far. But I think it does stem from, and I keep talking about these movies that play in the back of your head that you don't know is there. Well, that's the thing. You can't clear what you don't know is there. Mm-hmm. So by doing this forgiveness and peeling back the layers of the onion, you're going to finally be able to face whatever is back there. And the reason I want you to start with the easy ones is because by the time you get to those dumpster fires, you'll be ready for them. You're going to already start to feel better. So how do you forgive the unforgivable? Well, they're a bear. Let's just be clear. They're a bear. But I want you to pick apart the memory. We'll take my father for an example. He was one of my number 10s. Now, my family's mostly dead, so you'd think it would be easier on me. It wasn't. Still living alive and well in my head. Right? Didn't matter. He wasn't on the planet. So I took my dad, and I was so angry at him, I couldn't even forgive him. I couldn't even forgive the energy around the guy. I didn't want to. So I picked apart the memory. I remember times when we sat at the dining room table and he'd lecture us for hours because he was drunk. I'm sure it wasn't hours, but I was a kid. It felt like hours. So I forgave the actual table. I'm actually not kidding. The energy around the table. I forgave the chair I sat in, the energy around the chair. I forgave my childhood home, my childhood bed, the TV that we watched. I forgave everything. I forgave my brother who watched, my mother who was there. and the energy around all of these things. And I managed to get, after a while, after pulling apart memories, I got him from a 10 to a 9. I still haven't forgiven him yet. I'm pulling apart the memories. Let's take another example. Let's say you're going to work and you always turn left at the light. Today you turned right. Don't know why, but you did. Took you by your old high school. You saw it out of the corner of your eye. That movie started to play. So by the time, you didn't know the movie was playing, but by the time you get to work, you're pissed. You're grumpy. You had a perfectly calm, beautiful morning. It was a beautiful sunny day. It was like 70 degrees. It was perfect. Why are you grumpy? Well, because your brain saw that you were bullied in that school. The movie started to play. So you were triggered. So how do you remove the trigger? You pull apart the memory. So you forgive the building, the energy around the building. You forgive the desk that you sat at, the energy around the desk. You forgive the teacher, the chalkboard. Yeah, that's how old I am. The chalkboard, the let's say dry erase, maybe they use now. I'm not even sure. You forgive the building. You forgive the playground. You forgive the grass, the path. You forgive all of these. You forgive the city. You forgive the town. You forgive the state. You forgive the date. I'm pulling apart the memory. Still haven't forgiven the bully yet, have I? Still haven't forgiven the energy around the bully. Maybe the bully is unforgivable. Maybe, let's use a really horrible example. Maybe you were raped.
Yes.
I was in college. Still have never forgiven the rapist because I haven't. But I have pulled apart the memory to the point where I can forgive every other part of it. I'm a cancer survivor, breast cancer. I forgave breast cancer. I completely forgive breast cancer. I forgive the energy around breast cancer. I forgive myself, the energy around myself. And so it is. I forgave chemo chair. I forgave every aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And it's freeing because now it's out of my head.
I think
that's freedom. That's joy.
There's a modality in mental health called EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprogramming. And everything that you just said, this is exactly what we practice for a patient. We assess, process, and reprogram, which is accessing the old memory, processing it, which is how do you free yourself from it, and you reprogram yourself to think otherwise.
Everything is forgivable. You can forgive politicians, dare I say. Don't go there. We can forgive the war. We can forgive the war in the Middle East. What's it going to do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing. But it's going to work wonders on your brain. Now, let me anticipate a question because I got asked this once and I have to talk about it. A gentleman, no disrespect to the guys out there, but it was a gentleman, came up to my husband and I, and he looked at me and I was talking about this. And he said, I don't agree. I love being challenged. Okay. And he said, I've made a lot of money. A lot of money. I have a lot of companies. And I have a lot of houses. And I built my business and my brand on the back of my pain. My anger is the gasoline that I use to get where I am today. Okay, let's talk about it. Great. Okay. You have a choice of 2 trains. You can take the express or you can take the local. It's going to stop at every single stop. It'll get you there, but you're going to be a shadow. It's like going into a hotel, and we've all done this, and you're trying to go to the 75th floor, and some punk kid has pressed every single button between 1 and 74. So by the time you get there, you've stopped at every single floor, and you are a shadow of your former self by the time you get up there. You're really irritated. So you can get there. I've been on that local train. You can get to your destination by using the local train. You're going to be bloodied. You're going to be depressed, and it's going to be hard. You can get there. Wouldn't you rather hop on the express filled with forgiveness, joy, and love and get there twice as fast and twice as far? Forgiving your past, forgiving the stuff in your past, the triggers, forgiving the city where you lived in, forgiving that old apartment that you used to have, that old awful couch. It's everything. When we downsized, we didn't need our old dining room table, which was the dining room table I had it as a kid. So I offered it to my adult sons. My older son looked at me and he said, I don't want it. I said, why? It's a perfectly lovely table. He said, that's the homework table. I don't want that freaking table, he said. Neither did my younger son. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, that's the lecture table. Yeah, no, we sold it. We got rid of it. triggers. Forgiveness will remove the triggers.
But I mean, triggers are not okay. So even if wherever you go, the subconscious mind will release back memories. And even if you try
Yes.
to confront a trigger or avoid that trigger so you don't bring those past memories, there's indirect triggers that will bring it back. So you cannot avoid
Yep.
it. I mean, especially if you keep, like living in the same city or neighborhood, it's gonna hit. So unless if you completely move out of the city, move in a different country, then you could diminish the chances of that to happen. But no one has that luxury to do that. So we're all going to be confronted some way or another, Catherine, by
We
trigger
are.
memories. So the forgiveness part, is it as feasible as your program tells?
Yeah, it's worked for a lot of people. And I could go back to New York City, which is where I was raised, and I'm not really triggered anymore, to be honest. It's neutral. The emotional charge has been removed. I can go by my childhood grammar school which was incredibly triggering for me because I got horribly bullied there. And I walked by it and I looked at the building and I remembered what happened, but I remembered it like I was an outsider. It just didn't hold the punch that it used to. I remembered what happened, but it didn't have the punch. It didn't punch me between my eyes and knock me out. And I did put it on my forgiveness. I do this every night before bed. You're never going to be done because humans irritate other humans. So I did put that building, believe it or not, back on my practice that night, and I gave it a few more passes, but it just didn't hold it for me anymore. And there's science behind this. I have a whole chapter on science for anybody who doesn't believe me. But one of the scientific experiments I have in there was a study done in Japan called the Japanese water study by a guy named I can't pronounce his name, Hasumoto something. But if you Google Japanese water study, you'll get it. And what the guy did, in the interest of time, I'll say it fast. He took several containers of water. One container of water, all he did was talk to it, said loving, beautiful words, told it he loved it, told it it was beautiful. The other container, hate. The most hateful things he could say to a person, he said to this container of water. Then he froze the water and he put it under a microscope. The water he spoke love to had these beautiful crystal formations. The water he spoke hate to had the exact opposite, black and brown malformations. So why am I telling you this? The human body is over 95% water. So if your self-talk is back, if you're living in these horrible memories, you're filled with bitterness and hate, what do you think you're doing to the water molecules in your body? This is why people say anger is toxic. This is the how. You're literally changing. So forgiveness is going to change the energy of these things. So you're going to be able to see again. It's like this purple coffee cup. And for those listening, I'm just going to hold it in front of my face. But when you first get angry, I can be in a session with you and you can look at me and say, so how's it going? So I can manage my anger, Dr. Dan. This is easy. I can hold, because I'm holding it off to the side. Yeah, I can still talk to you. I can do anything. Easy. But humans irritate other humans. And if you don't let something out of the cup, you're going to still put stuff into it. So the longer I hold on to this anger, it's just going to keep building because I'm going to continue to get anger. And now I'm taking two hands to hold up the cup. Well, it's starting to penetrate my life, but I can still live. Easy.
I see.
And now I'm holding it in front of me. Well, when you hold it in front of you, my life is stopped. I'm talking to you saying the anger is all I can think about. How do I clear it? So by using my system and clearing the 1s, 2s, and 3s, now it's back off to the side. So you can pay attention to your life. You can pay attention to a money-making opportunity. Your dream significant other could just walk into the room. Why do you see them now? Because, well, you're now paying attention.
So before we end the podcast, where can people find your books?
They can find them on Amazon. I do understand not everybody likes to read, so I have the audiobook, the ebook, and the paperback available. And my younger son produced the audiobook, and we're still talking to each other, so banner day.
Yes.
I have great respect for voiceover artists.
Oh
It's not as easy as everybody thinks. It really isn't.
Yeah, you have
And
to
you can go to my website. My name, Katharine, thanks to my mother, is spelled a little odd. Thanks, Mom. And it's KATHARINE Giovanni.com. And all my books are on there.
Beautiful. Well, Catherine, that is all the time that we have for today's podcast. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. And thank you again for participating and inspiring our many listeners with your knowledge in the art of forgiveness. Now, we hope that you've all enjoyed today's episode. And I'm also very excited about the many upcoming guests that we have scheduled for season 26 of the Happiness Journey podcast, filled with inspirational stories, just like the one that you listened today. Now, here are some concluding words of wisdom. Forgiveness is not about excusing the past. It's about freeing yourself from its hold. True forgiveness begins when you release the pain without carrying guilt or self-blame. You're not weak for letting go. You're strong for choosing peace over resentment. Holding onto anger only keeps you bound to what hurts you, but forgiveness opens the doors to healing. It's a gift you give yourself, not just the one who wronged you. Now, you don't have to forget, but you can choose to move forward without bitterness. Embrace the lessons, honor your growth, and trust that your heart is resilient. Forgiving does not mean allowing the same pain again. It means valuing yourself enough to let it go. When you forgive without resenting yourself, you reclaim your power and make space for joy. Your past does not define you. Your ability to rise above does. My name is Dr. Dan Amzalag, and you may all keep pursuing your amazing journey in life.